It's just two. That's it. Good afternoon. This is the June 14th convening of the City of Sylvester Municipal Court. I'm gonna give you a rundown of the jurisdiction of the court and some options that you have available to you tonight. I know you've already spoken to either the public defender or the solicitor. The City of Sylvester Municipal Court has jurisdiction over traffic violations, misdemeanors, high and aggravated misdemeanors, and also city ordinances. The maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail. And you may hear of a fine that exceeds $1,000. That means that that's one of those high and aggravated misdemeanors, or it means that that person is a multiple offender, as fines increase with each subsequent violation. As with any other court in the United States, in the state of Georgia or in the United States, you have certain constitutional rights. I'm gonna go over those rights with you now, and I'm gonna refer back to them as you come up individually to resolve your case. You have the right to be presumed innocent. The burden of proof is on the City of Sylvester to prove that you did in fact commit the alleged offense. And that burden of proof must be met beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a very high standard. You also have the right to testify on your own behalf, and if you choose not to testify, that cannot be held against you. And you have the right to confront any witnesses that the City of Sylvester might use to testify against you. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, there's paperwork that you can fill out, and if you meet certain qualifications, an attorney will be appointed to you. In some cases, you have the right to a jury trial. If your offense affords you the right to a jury trial, the City of Sylvester Municipal Court does not hold jury trials, and therefore your case will be transferred to the Worth County State Court. However, the other option, if you choose to plead not guilty to a jury trial, is a bench trial, which means that you'll come back to this court and you can plead your case in front of a single judge. As with tonight is arraignment, which means that most of you, this is your first time in court. I'm going to give you your three options in terms of pleading to a case. You can plead guilty, which means I committed the offense. I want to be held accountable, and we can resolve your case tonight. The second plea is a plea of not guilty, and if you plead not guilty, you'll be given a court date, and you can come back to have that bench trial that I was telling you about. Or you can plead what's called a no contest or nolo contendere. This is not a guilty plea. It simply means that you do not wish to contest the charge against you, and in some cases, it offers you some legal benefits. However, you can only use a nolo plea once every 5 years for different categories of offenses, and so therefore, we will determine whether or not a nolo is conducive to your case on an individual basis. Okay? Michael Accord.
Judge, if I can't comment.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, come on. With the two attorneys.
It's Mr. Cunningham's case.
Cunningham's
defendant. I believe it's driver suspended license and suspended tag, correct? She's providing me proof that he had just purchased the vehicle, and so the tag should not have been suspended. She also provided me proof that actually appears that he did have a license Based on that, facts of the case, I'm recommending reduction down to no license on person with $15 fine, recommended on that.
Mr. Colby Cunningham,
Yes, sir.
and you're represented by,
Brittany Schreiber.
oh,
Hey, Judge.
didn't recognize you with the mayor.
It's the mask.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the long
I
range.
kept pulling it down so you might have recognized it. I'm also so.
And so you have, your attorney has brokered a deal with the solicitor, and he just recited that plea agreement to the court. Is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The court is going to accept the plea agreement. We're going to annul pros, the driving on a suspended license. We're going to accept a guilty plea to the no license on person. Let me ask you some questions quickly to make sure that your plea is voluntary, okay? Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the most this court can sentence a person is 1 year in jail or a fine of $1,000. Anybody promised you anything or forced you to enter into that agreement? You understand that by entering into that agreement and entering this plea, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court. You know, you're a U.S. citizen. Okay, I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Now, the next question is, do you have $15?
Yes,
You have it tonight?
sir.
That's gonna be the fine for the no license on person charge. Okay, and you can pay that and your case will be resolved. Yes.
Thank you.
I forgot to ask you, is there anything you or your attorney would like to say to the court?
No, you're right. Thank you for the
Okay.
plea.
Okay, have a good night. Ms. Crowe, is there another?
I got Mr. Kim here with Mr. Hayford.
Okay. And you all have reached an agreement on this case?
We have stacked off negotiated plea agreement.
So, Mr. A Court, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, sir.
You're going to plead guilty to 2 fast four conditions and also guilty to reckless driving. Is that correct?
Now, we're requesting a recommendation to standard type U license on that.
Okay. They
No
didn't,
jail time.
okay, they didn't swear you in, so I need to swear you in really fast. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. I'm gonna ask you some questions, answer them for me out loud, yes or no, okay? Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No, sir.
You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail?
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter into this plea agreement? You understand that by pleading, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Now, Mr. Accord, do you have anything that you'd like to tell the court? Any mitigating circumstances or explanations? Okay. I'm going to accept the plea agreement on the failure to maintain lane. I'm going to accept the guilty plea to 2 fast four conditions. Sentence you to a fine amount of $195. Did you you didn't pay a cash bond or anything to get out of jail? Okay. Okay, okay. And on the DUI, I'm going to accept your guilty plea to the reduced charge of reckless driving. Sentence you to 12 months probation. fine amount of $750. Since you 20 hours of community service, but I will allow you to pay that out if you decide to cash it out and pay it instead of performing the community service. There'll be other terms and conditions to your probation. Now, you can take the disposition of this case. Did they take your license when you got stopped?
Yes, sir.
So you can get a certified disposition of this case later on, and you should be able to get your license, take it to DDS and get another copy of your license, okay? Like I mentioned, there'll be other terms and conditions to your probation. Probation officer will let you know what they are, and you're free to go once you see her.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. No.
Yeah, wait, this was not, everybody off what?
Yes. That's kind of mine. Mr. All right, and what's your name?
Monica,
Monica, last name? Castillo? Okay. Now, Monica, the court is going to allow you to translate for me, and I need to give you a couple of rules of translation, okay? You need to translate number one, you need to translate exactly the things that I say. Then you need to translate back to me exactly the things that Mr. Orozco says, okay? And you also need to translate it back to me as if he was saying it to me. So it's not like he said, you just repeat what he said as if he was saying it, okay? So no shortcuts or anything like that. All right. Mr. Orozco, you're charged with shoplifting, and you wish to plead guilty to that charge. Is that correct? He said no. All right, translate with the public defender. Okay. You're charged with shoplifting, and you consulted with your attorney, and you wish to enter a plea to that charge, correct? You have to say out loud for me. And the plea agreement that, that you've agreed to, actually, I will allow the, public defender to recite it. Okay.
Judge, in this
You
case,
can translate what he says.
myself and Mr. Crowe, we have agreed to a pretrial, of this court's version of a pretrial program. He is on a contract for a farm here, and he is leaving on July 17th. So it'll be a consolidated pretrial. So that's like any immigration issues that we can foresee with him coming back. Thank you. He did post a cash bond from this matter, so we would ask that we be in place of the conditions.
I'm gonna ask you some questions, Mr. Orozco, okay? And forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Did I pronounce it correctly? Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? Do you understand everything that's going on right now? Do you understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail? He said, see?
Yes.
Yes, it, so I can hear you, okay? Did anybody force you or promise you anything to enter into that agreement? And are you a U.S. citizen? And it's been explained to you how this may affect your immigration status. That didn't sound like C. Come on. Huh? Okay. All right. I'm going to accept the plea agreement. I'm going to send you to a pretrial. I'm sending you on a pretrial intervention with a fine amount of $343. Is that correct? $373.50. And I'm going to allow the charge to be dismissed upon payment of that fine, which means that you've already paid the fine, so the charge will be dismissed. You understand? Okay, you're free to go.
Thank you.
Stacy Cherry. Ms. Cherry, you were charged with speeding, but you've spoken to the solicitor, and you're gonna plead guilty to 2 fast four conditions. Is that correct? Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So you got. Okay. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail. Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead guilty to this charge? You understand that by pleading, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court? And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? You were?
Yes, sir.
The fine amount is $126. Do you have that tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And upon payment of that fine, your case is resolved. Okay. Is there, oh, you said you didn't have anything you want to tell the court, right? All right. Easy in, easy out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Stephanie Carter. good evening now, isn't it? Good afternoon, Ms. Carter.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
You're charged with speeding and you talked to the solicitor and you're gonna plead guilty to two passport conditions, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand that the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 and 12 months in jail?
Yes.
Anybody promise you or force you to enter into the agreement whereby you're gonna plead guilty to two passport conditions? You understand that by pleading, you waive all the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court? And are you a U.S. citizen? Are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes,
Okay. I'm gonna find your plea as voluntarily entered, Ms. Carter, and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence?
no, ma'am.
All right, the fine is $175. Do you have that tonight?
No, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you have that by June 27th? July 12th?
You are correct.
July 12th? All right, I want you to pay that fine by July 12th. You get a summons to come back to court on July 12th. If you don't pay that by July 12th, I need you to come back to court on July 12th, okay? If you don't pay it and you don't come back to court, there could be a warrant issued for your arrest or your license could be suspended. So I wouldn't say a small fine, but you don't want all of that kind of stuff to happen for $175. Okay, so, but I don't want to put a financial hardship on you, so I ask you one more time, can you do that by July 12th?
Yes,
Okay, all right, you get the summons to come back to court on that date. If you pay it before that date, you don't have to come back. Okay, you have a nice night, Ms. Carter. Stacy White. Mr. White, you had a case back in 2020, and you were supposed to pay $195. You got a receipt? Okay. Did you pay it by credit card, cash, or anything that you can document? You paid cash? All right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place you on probation and for 6 months and allow probation to terminate upon payment of the $195. You from Sylvester?
Sir.
You from Sylvester?
No, sir.
Yep. And well, you'll be placed on probation, but like I said, with fines that are under, $250, I try to urge everyone to go ahead and take care of them, because if you violate probation, you could get a warrant, could go to jail, those kind of things, and you don't want to do that over $195. Okay? All right. There'll be other terms and conditions to the probation, and after you see probation, you're free to go. That table. Now, let me ask you something, Mr. White. Let me come back for 1 second. I did not ask you, are you financially able to pay $195?
I'm up on the bill with you right now.
Because I was going to allow it to be converted to community service.
And approximately,
Okay, all right. Brandon Rowe. Mr. Rowe, you're charged with shoplifting. Have you had the opportunity to speak to the solicitor?
We did, Your Honor.
Okay.
And, Your Honor, my understanding is he had a prior shoplifting in Lee County, which he has been pleaded to and was on probation through them for, I think. It didn't appear resolved, as G. South said. I think it just happened last week, so these charges all go around at the same time. We're not recommending jail time on this, we are recommending 12 months probation, as well as we request random drug testing as well.
Mr. Rowe, how do you plead to this charge? Guilty?
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got?
Yes, sir.
Answer these questions for me, yes or no. Are you now under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You got it. Okay. Answer them out loud so I can hear you. Yes or no, okay?
Yes, sir.
You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings?
No, sir.
You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail?
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead guilty?
No, sir.
You know that by pleading guilty, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of the court,
Yes, sir.
and are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. How old are you? Is there anything you want to tell the court?
No, sir. I'm 23.
You're 23? What store were you in?
Sir,
What store did you get this charge in?
what
Yeah. Has there been did you receive any type of barment notice from Walmart?
they didn't mention.
Huh?
They didn't mention anything.
Okay, okay, so you don't have a sheet of paper or anything saying you can't go in Walmart right now?
No, sir.
Do you have any type of substance abuse problem or anything like that?
Yes, sir. I haven't. Yes. Not any drugs or alcohol in jail. The past 4 days we've had a responsibility. But prior to that, we didn't look at that.
How long were you in jail?
40 days.
40 days? In what city?
In Lee County.
In Lee County?
Prior.
Okay. And the charges before this, are they resolved? You on probation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Brandon, I'm gonna sentence you to 12 months probation. You work? How long you been out of jail? A week?
Yes, sir.
What your drug of choice? Okay. Sentence you to 12 months probation, order you to pay a fine of $370, $350. Order you to stay out of Walmart while you are on probation. The Sylvester Walmart, while you're on probation. Okay. Is there a standing order with Judge Weaver in terms of probation having the ability to drug screen or does?
We do it anyway, it's on the back of the
Okay.
sheet.
My court's always given, so that they're random anytime that probation feels as though a drug screen is necessary. So you'll be subject to drug screens also, okay?
Okay.
There'll be other terms and conditions to your probation. Probation officer will let you know what they are,
Okay.
and then you're free to go. I highly recommend inpatient because it's very, very hard to kick that habit on your own. Go ahead. Yeah. You ever thought about that?
Yes, sir.
You say you're 20, how?
23.
If you get it now, your life will be a lot easier. Okay?
You want to help me?
They're gonna tell you where to go.
That round table back there, have a seat.
Rebecca Leverett.
I believe this lever had tail light was out. She indicated she was not aware of that at the time. She went in her fleet to defective equipment.
Okay,
I believe that's what she cited.
it was. Ms. Leverett, you had a tail light out. You gonna enter a plea to that? You had a tail light out on your car.
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna plead guilty to that, correct? Correct. Yes, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you some questions. Answer for me out loud, yes or no, okay? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? No?
No.
Okay. You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding what's going on right now? You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail? That doesn't mean that's what you're gonna get, but that's the maximum, okay? Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead guilty to this violation?
No.
You understand that by pleading guilty, you waive all the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court, like having a trial, having the right to an attorney, having the right to testify. You waive those by pleading guilty.
Yes.
And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Ms. Leverett, is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? How, did you fix the tail light?
Yes.
How much did it cost to fix it? Did you fix it yourself?
I was going to fix it myself, but the guy that I bought when I went to O'Reilly's,
Mhm.
said, "Look, you can keep going in." So I went and got it fixed within like 15 minutes to get it fixed.
You did? Okay. Well, I'm gonna accept your plea, and based on your driving history and the fact that you took care of it so quickly, I'm gonna suspend the fine, okay? Which means you don't have to pay it. All right, you have a good night. Ernest Miller. Mr. Miller, you charged with driving on suspended tag and no insurance, but you talked to the solicitor, and he's gonna allow you to plead guilty to improper decal and no proof of insurance. Is that your understanding?
Yes, I have a question about.
Hold on 1 second for me, okay? Raise your hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, go ahead.
I don't know how to compare.
I can't hear you.
What's no contest compare in preference to not guilty concerning those charges? What doesn't change? Like them changing charges, that makes no contest. What is no contest consist
I'm gonna make an exception. I usually don't answer questions. So that's what you go with, with the solicitor or the public defender.
You didn't say anything about no contest.
In this case, because he reduced your charges, he reduced it to the level to where it won't have the same impact on your license or your driving history as if the charges had stayed what you were originally charged with. So it's your choice. You can use a no-low plea, and I'll accept it, but you'll get the same benefit because he reduced the charges.
Okay, so that was asking me to see guilty.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Let me ask you some questions. You answer for me, yes or no, okay?
Okay.
Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 to 12 months in jail? Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter into that agreement where he reduced the charges? You understand that by pleading, you waive all the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court? You're a U.S. citizen. Okay. I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. Now, is there anything you'd like to tell the court about this incident before I impose sentence?
I was writing about the computer, I originally got pulled over for my light being off. I didn't drive over when I got pulled over. I did not know that I did not have insurance or registration. I was, how you have insurance with someone else, and share your insurance, but not really know that. So at the time of me pulled over, I did not know that I did not have insurance or registration, but I do understand that. No, I did not have probably not.
Well, tell me this, because you seem like a law-abiding, citizen. How long did it take you to fix it?
The insurance, like the registration, I came back here, I don't know when my report that was, but it was sometime last month, but I got it the day after I came here for it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna accept the solicitor's recommendation that, the charges be reduced on the, expired tag charge. I'm gonna reduce the fine to $300. You work?
No, not this is,
You from Sylvester?
no, sir, no.
Where are you from?
I was in Albany.
Auburn?
Yes, sir.
And on the, no insurance charge, I'm gonna reduce the fine to $240. So your total fine amount is $540. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place you on 12 months probation. I'm gonna allow probation to terminate upon payment of that fine. I know you live in Albany, but since you don't work, I'm gonna put in a clause that says that you can convert that to community service if you have to. If you can pay it, that's fine. But if you come into a hardship, you can get with the probation officer and say, can I do community service instead of paying the fine?
Okay.
Okay. If you have the terms and conditions to your probation officer will let you know what they are, and you're free to go once you see them.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
The round table.
Okay. Thank you.
Is it Tellis? Walter Tellis. Mr. Tellis, you were charged with DUI, alcohol, less safe, and running a red light. You had an opportunity to speak to the solicitor. Were you his attorney on this case?
I spoke with him, I have an appointment.
Okay. And the solicitor has agreed to allow you to plead to reckless driving and then dismiss the running a red light. Is that your understanding? Right. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so you got it?
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you these questions. You probably know the answer to them by now. Yes or no? Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings? You understand everything that's going on right now? You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 and 12 months in jail.
Yes, sir.
Anybody promise you anything or force you to enter into this plea?
No, sir.
You understand that by pleading, you waive the rights that I mentioned in the beginning of court,
Yes, sir.
and are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna find your plea is voluntarily entered, and that you understand the nature and the consequences of your plea. And Mr. Tellis, is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? You had an accident?
Yes, sir.
How was the other person? Did they get hurt?
John,
you're the
person,
The other person left.
Be careful.
The other person left? So, okay, yeah,
that would have been completely run into contact with them.
okay.
They reminded us.
You get hurt?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna send you to 12 months probation, fine amount of $750. And 20 hours of community service. You can pay out that community service if, you work.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna roll up.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I'll put it as an option. It'll be other terms and conditions to your probation, and probation officer will let you know what they are. Now, your probation, you'll be on probation for 12 months, so don't violate any of the laws of the state of Georgia, any ordinances or all those kind of things. So you have to kind of be on your P's and Q's, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's one.
Yeah.
I pay that off for 12 months. You come next?
No, not when I reduce the DUI. Okay, so it's 12 months.
For the license. My license.
No, you can get your license back because the charge is reduced directly. So as soon as you get a certified copy of the disposition,
Yes, sir.
you can go to the DDS and get your license back.
Thank you.
You got a CDL?
No, we got to drive license. I can't haul it up on the 10,000 pounds.
Oh, okay.
The hot shot.
Where you from?
Here. That's it.
All right, have a nice night, Mr. Taylor. Casey Taylor. Mr. Taylor, you charged with violation of the handicap parking. And how do you wish to plead guilty? Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay. I'm gonna ask you some questions. Answer for me out loud, yes or no. Are you not under the influence of drugs or alcohol? You suffer from any mental defect that stops you from understanding these proceedings. You understand the maximum sentence this court can impose is a fine of $1,000 or 12 months in jail. Anybody promise you anything or force you to plead guilty? You understand? Oh, are you a U.S. citizen? Okay, is there anything you'd like to tell the court before I impose sentence? You're the last one, so yeah, I guess you're the last one. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you work?
Yes, sir.
You work? Where do you work?
Okay. Work at the
Circle K? Okay. I'm curious, why did you park in a handicap parking space?
because I was probably in overnight and I just parked there in a hurry.
Oh, okay. The fine amount is $195, Ms. Taylor, do you have that?
Based off her, it's my understanding she's the manager of the store, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I asked the court to take that into consideration and maybe lower the fine down to $95.
What camera took this picture?
The truth of it.
Oh, the trooper took the picture. Yeah, it looked like it was daylight, because I see.
It was 8 o'clock in the morning.
And
I was gonna to work. 8 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Them troopers.
oh, okay, so you haven't been parked there since midnight.
I got party on the night, I just went to work.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna reduce the fine to $100. You got it today?
That's our tax rate.
Okay, I'll give you to the 27th. And so that's way past Thursday. You pay before the 27th, you don't have to come back to court. But if you don't pay it by the 27th, you have to come back to court. All right.
I have a few cases.
Thanks a lot. I'll see you, Attorney. So,
See you.
good to see you again.
She needs to get us the subpoena. Yep.
Good?
We are now.